Hello there. Happy New Year. Welcome to my channel if it's your first time. I really like it if people subscribe, but also share if you find this interesting. So I'm a author and spiritual teacher, intuitive channel, and astrologer. So welcome. We're going to dive into the full moon in Cancer, which is really feeling dramatic, for lack of a better word, with what's going on around us and maybe what's going on within us. But, my heart goes out to LA right now, the horrible fires, to all the people losing their homes, and to the wildlife and the pets. It's just devastating. It's surreal to watch. Some of the themes of this unfortunate, horrible tragedy are also mirrored in the planets. Not to say planets cause it, but as above, so below, things mirror in the universe. There's also, of course, although I don't get too political on my channel, there is also the matter of Trump's threats destabilizing the world right now, before he's even come into office, making these announcements. And before we get going into analyzing the full moon and what it means for you, I guess my 2 cents would just be to not let yourself get too wrapped up and upset, because things change like this in his previous presidency and likely in this one. And sometimes things are thrown out there into the media for us to be preoccupied while something else is going on behind the scenes. I think a lot of us know that now. So it's not a coincidence to me that there's all kinds of strikes going on in Israel and Gaza at the same time that these threats of invasion and taking over Panama and Greenland and all of this stuff are coming out, as well as his sentencing. And there's probably more that we don't see or hear about that's going on behind the scenes as well. Of course there is. And so all this to say, if you're feeling quite preoccupied and upset by it all, and your mind is wondering, could he do this? Or, because the whole news cycle is full right now with this. Just try to remember to pull back and see the smoke and mirror effect. And just know, like, there's a lot of people that comprise countries and governments. It's not just one person's will. So let's just see how things play out. I guess I'm bringing this message to us during this full moon because there's very intense oppositional and sometimes destructive energy with planets that are opposing. So we don't want to bring that to the world or into our own lives or those of our loved ones, even if it's all around us. Alrighty, let's take a look at this chart. And if you want to reach me for a reading of any kind, whether it's a channeling or whether it's an astrology chart, take a look at what's coming up for your year, then you can reach me in the comments below. My email is there, or you can just comment and I will reach out to you in the comments below. All right, let's take a look at this chart. Okay. So as usual, I cast the chart for the Eastern time zone. So I've put New York City, but it's anywhere in the Eastern time zone. Could have been interesting to cast it for LA actually and see what houses, and it's the same planets and the same configuration, but the houses would be different. So it would play out differently in different areas there. So with a 3-hour time difference. Yeah, maybe I should do that and add that in at some point, or as an extra post, an extra video. So, as I mentioned, we have the moon in Cancer, full moon in Cancer for the wolf moon. And as you can see, we have Mars sitting right beside it. So first, let's talk about that. And it's right on the ascendant, because you see the ascendant is 2 degrees Leo. Mars is retrograde in Cancer. And the sun is at 24. So it's pretty close to the ascendant, but it's officially in the 12th house. So that makes it even more potent. Okay. The moon and Mars together in Cancer is just so emotional. It's hard to even express how emotional that is. And it's put in the 12th house, so it's hidden. It's suppressed emotion. This is unfortunately the kind of energy that can outburst and build up and blow. If this were a person's chart versus a day that we're all tapping into for, an energy for a few days that we'll feel. But if this were an actual person's chart, I would expect this person to have a lot of suppressed anger and rage, a lot of suppressed sensitivity, intuition, and also at the same time, intense love. Because you don't get intense rage without intense love. You get neutrality or indifference. So when you have planets like this that care so much, that feel so much, mixed with Mars, that again just wants something so bad and wants it now, and it's passionate, and it's going to go all in. This is a kind of person that would sacrifice themselves for others, especially in the 12th house. They could be just sort of constantly bombarded by people needing them as like a parent figure, a confidant, punching bag. There's many ways it could play out. It could also, in its very best or highest way, although I wouldn't expect it as often, but it could, in its highest sense, be somebody that has such a strong spiritual mission of giving. And because it's the moon and it's Cancer, it could be to any needy or vulnerable group. Could be children, could be elderly, could be disabled, could be animals. That is one very positive side of that combination. But the level of personal introspection, evolution, self-control that it takes to be that, as we know, is much more rare. So what I would expect is sudden and very deep and long held and long overdue emotions that come out in your relationships, or could be at work, could be on the road, people driving pretty crazy. It could also play out in your dream life. You might have some very intense dreams, and I'd expect them to be possibly nightmares. Your dreams could show a lot of passion and intensity, or anger or violence even. Again, it's like a matter of how much of your true sense of caring and empathy and love and expression for people, connecting deeply emotionally, being seen and understood is such a deep need with that moon in Cancer. They need to be understood. And if they're not, well, Mars is right there going, oh, Could feel very powerfully upset, betrayed, lash out. You could experience it as just like sudden, intense bouts of crying. You know, it could be more nebulous than that. It's not always directed at something or a particular person or memory, or it could just really be like, again, it's such a buildup, and Lord knows we have so much buildup in society. I mean, forever, but certainly many people even are, you know, they're still recovering from the COVID period. There's just so much that's been built up and not expressed. That's why I caution you when these planets come along, because there's only so long you can put your hand over the tap here before the water bursts forward, right? Because it's the 12th house. It's been lingering there in the subconscious for so long. Who knows how long somebody's been holding it in, that just decides, well, they don't decide, that they just let it out. It could be, again, in its best sense, like a healing breakthrough. You might just have, you know, I was fortunate enough to have it play out this way just a few days ago, but I always feel these cycles, I don't know, I can feel it coming like a week, usually like a week to 10 days ahead of time. I get my moment, and then by the time the event arrives, I seem to have gone through it. But for me, I had that intense, facilitated through, you know, an amazing healer. I had a huge breakthrough, huge emotional breakthrough that I needed. Like, it was something that came out that I finally said out loud, you know, and was able to feel and cry and let it go. And it just took a long time for me to have the right conditions, I guess, to finally do it. And I was with the right person who was very nurturing. So that's another possibility for you as well. You know, healing crises don't feel nice, but they are necessary. And you know, if you're constantly restless and anxious and distracted and or depressed, or whatever it is for you that's chronically building up, the moon and Mars in Cancer might be just like popping the bubble here, letting the air out. And that can come in many forms. So the main thing, if somebody just suddenly needs to burst out in tears over something that happened 20 years ago, but they've been holding it, well, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful healing breakthrough. But if somebody decides to unleash it by driving a car into a building, different story. Like, people are unpredictable how they're going to react when they finally let out something that they've been pushing in, right? So that's in the air. Now, what's opposite, of course, you see all the red lines, it's opposite to the Sun and Pluto. So the Sun and Pluto together is also very powerful right now, because there's enormous, how would we say it? I don't know about desire, but awareness. There's certainly enormous awareness that a huge change and transformation in society is upon us, right? The Sun and Pluto together is very powerful, very magnetic. It can represent people who are sort of Plutonian, which would be, it could be anything from a very charismatic person, leader, coach, whatever, teacher, somebody in authority with a lot of power, influence, and magnetism. And it can also be somebody that uses that for good. It could be somebody that uses it for ill. But that's what the Sun and Pluto would be. You'd expect a very potent, powerful person with a lot of sex appeal or magnetic on some way. They always capture attention. They come in the room shifts. There's something intense about them. People are polarized. They love or they hate them with Pluto. and they sort of wake and shake and they rock the world wherever they go. So we can say that that fits a number of people. And so because that level of power, potency, magnetism, authority, and polarization ability is also opposing this very difficult, suppressed emotional energy. This is really explosive. It is. I have to say it. I'd like to make it sound nice, but it's very explosive energy. Again, how can it be used? It could be literally somebody, like enough suppressed reaction, emotion, whatever, suppressed actions could come up suddenly, pouring out against the Sun Pluto, the magnetic authority person or body, whatever it is. I would expect with this influence some sort of, these are global, so there's always one going on, but within our, let's say within our consciousness over here, since I cast the chart for the Eastern time zone, we might see an energy of rebellion, of shutting something or somebody down, shutting, it's hard to say who wins with Sun Pluto. They could successfully suppress the Moon Mars Cancer aspect into submission or silence again. They might not. Depends how powerful the other planets are that help. What's helping out who wins. It's sort of like David and Goliath. Are there more people on one side or the other that tip the balance? Otherwise, but this is the kind of feeling we have going on. And so I'm expecting on this full moon just to have people tell me that there's all kinds of Jekyll and Hyde moments in their relationships, that there's like hot, cold shocks and surprises, with the, could be, well, this is relating to the 6th and the 12th house, so it could be related more to your work. Again, healing breakthroughs. 6th house is healing, 12th house is the unconscious. And then how that expresses itself is really, for me, like I said, I experienced, the really beautiful kind, which is more rare because I think a lot of people are afraid to go so deeply into their healing, even though we desperately need to. And even me, I was afraid to for a while. So, and then I finally it's the right time and all the conditions were right. And letting out this old emotion literally physically relieved me dramatically for the better. So that would be a Pluto kind of energy as well, a death and a rebirth, a shedding. So if you are also ready for that in your life, and you can sort of identify what area of your life, maybe there's something in your life that's just built up too much, and you know what it is, but you haven't been able to move forward or let something go. If you sense something around you is sort of precarious or hanging by a thread, or might not work out the way you thought, and you're ready to just sort of see that and let it be. That's the kind of feeling. But I would sort of be careful out there on Monday on the roads, or being in, maybe events or crowds, or just because they're a perfect incubator. If one person just sort of loses their shit, excuse my language, but if one person loses it, and you're you're in a difficult place where that can escalate, or where there could be something, a little dangerous, I would be careful on Monday. Like, I'd be careful driving, I'd be careful around equipment. I certainly wouldn't pick that day to tell my boss what I think, or to try to straighten out some sort of overdue relationship, unless you really feel like, you're ready for this Pluto, like, to just the death and rebirth. Like, sometimes we're ready for those moments, the cathartic beginning, ending. Because the thing with Pluto sometimes is, and even just with all that suppression in the 12th house, is like, sometimes people can feel like they got nothing to lose. So they unleash, they let it out. And it can be beautiful, it can be destructive. And that's as much as I can say. That's in the air. Now, what's helping it out? What's hindering it? So Chiron is squaring both up here. Remember Chiron, and it's also right at the top of the chart, the midheaven. Again, if this were an individual who had Chiron on the midheaven, I'd be like, ouch. Because it would be somebody that has difficulty getting the recognition that they want. When they get it, they sabotage it, or they feel like it eludes them, or they if they get it, like I said, they find a way on some level to ruin it. Because usually Chiron and Aries, there's like a difficult time finding a sense of yourself, or feeling like you deserve to just be you. So if recognition, which is the 10th house there, when a planet's on the top of the chart, that's usually an indication of what you're visible for, what makes you visible and how. And so they're either visible because of their wounding, or because of their awkwardness, or because of some crazy thing that happened. But it's difficult. And if you're talking about, this magnetic energy of Pluto Sun squaring Chiron, well, is this magnetic person or body or whatever company, are they going to get the kind of recognition that they're wanting right now? It doesn't look like it. So even more potency for the buildup of old emotion, and why is nobody being nice to me? Why doesn't anyone care? How come people don't see and understand me? Rawr, that's the triad there. Now, what's working well? Uranus is helping out Sun and Pluto, and that's the strongest one there for that side of it. So what's helping out this magnetic body or person is still a very volatile energy, of Uranus and Taurus, which is upheavals to daily life, to financial systems, to what is considered grounded, normal, and secure, and routined. So there is the energy in the air to like shake it up. That could help whoever that is sort of move in there and just keep destabilizing. And I'm using Trump all the time. It doesn't have to be him, but he's the most obvious because we're always talking about him. Threatening to take over Greenland and throwing off Europe, is certainly a destabilizing thing that a magnetic, powerful person is trying to do, right? Is using that edgy unpredictableness to get ahead. So you might see that also at your own workplace. You might see that amongst some other people that you know. Are they using this, power of suddenly taking something away, changing it up, changing the rules. Now it's here, now it's there. They're constantly, you can't quite figure out where things stand, and then they're moving, they get some sort of power out of destabilizing. So that is in the air strongly. That's what helps out the Sun Pluto factor. Now, what helps out the Mars Moon factor is the North Node and Neptune and Saturn, all in Pisces. A little bit of a wide angle there with the 15 degrees, but they're still drawing it. So it's good to see Saturn trine the Moon and Mars in this case, because as I've mentioned in other videos, Saturn is a sort of a sobering aspect. It keeps things serious, and it keeps things grounded, and it slows things down. And I mean, even though it's not really drawn, it's like Venus is hanging out right beside Saturn too, which you know, Venus and Saturn together could be, again, also frustrating. It's like I really want something, but I can't have it. But at the same time, they're cozied up in a way that it's certainly focusing on slowing things down and being more compassionate, and you know, trying to find some sort of understanding or forgiveness is there with, you know, Venus and Saturn and Pisces. Both of those angles would be able to say, hey, you know, okay, these things have happened before, they will happen again. We won't get so alarmed. Or, well, this person, you know, this powerful person who's trying to do X, Y, or Z also had like difficulty in their lives. They're not pure evil. It comes from, you know, whatever. Like there's that compassion in the air. And Saturn actually trine the Moon and Mars is a little more reassuring that it could calm whatever build up and blow energy is there. Something is calming it. Neptune and the North Node trining it is also interesting because, you know, Neptune could like amplify it or transmute it into something else. It could also sort of cast a haze over it, which again, it's sort of like sprinkling a bit of water on something, and it's now a little bit damp, so it's not as likely to set fire, literally. So there's a few planets there that really strengthen that Moon Mars. And I would say, like, the best way to use this is to really do the inner work, like I mentioned, of my experience. If you have anybody that you feel safe to talk to, or have a massage, I don't care, go get a pedicure, just go get something where you're feeling nurtured and pampered, because that's very much the positive side of Moon and Mars in Cancer, is nurturing and pampering. And behind closed doors, so it's perfect. A massage, you're behind closed doors, you know, a facial, I don't care. But do something nurturing for yourself, and try to allow something old to bubble to the surface and let you just see it, you know. And hopefully you can, if you need to cry, or if you need to scream, if you need to, you know, exercise to get that energy out, if you need to journal it, paint it, sing it, whatever you do, play your guitar, drumming, that'd be awesome. Drumming would be good. Because the beautiful part of Neptune and North Node in Pisces is that using that energy properly could actually really connect you to a lot of people, and it could also open up your creativity, and it could really open up your psychic channel. So if you, let's say you have a crazy dream, you know, you wake up and you have some nightmare, like I said, is possible with Moon Mars in the 12th. Well, maybe you're going to dream of somebody you haven't dreamt of in 20 years. And then you allow yourself to remember and feel what you used to feel about that person. And then somehow it's going to feel like it's left, like it's closure. That would be another beautiful way that this energy can play out too. Yeah, the only other thing to really mention here is Saturn and Venus are square Jupiter. And as we've mentioned, Jupiter and Gemini is just completely different vibe than anything we're describing here. Geminis or people with strong Gemini, you might be just bopping along just fine in the middle of all of this. Like you're just busy doing projects, busy socializing, busy learning, doing 5 things at once, keeping informed and up to date on everything, because that's a strong influence of this chart too. And the only thing it's aspecting is squaring Saturn and Venus, which again, you know, Saturn and Venus would sit there and go, Jupiter, come on, stop distracting yourself. These are serious matters. You've got to stop and have compassion for these people and what they're going through, and stop going down the rabbit hole of like why and conspiracy and this and that and or whatever. You know, Saturn and Venus and Pisces will be like a bit of a buzzkill to Jupiter and Gemini. You know, it's the again, like a sobering aspect. So Gemini can stay permanently curious about everything. You know, they can stay detached and curious, and they'll learn and they'll inform and they'll talk to people and they'll open conversations, and they'll, you know, they're usually very intellectual, but they're sensitive, but they don't really want to feel things that much. And Saturn and Venus and Pisces are just like, can be so heavy. There's a lot of potential with those planets for compassion, but there's also a lot of potential for feeling like a martyr, feeling like a victim. So Jupiter is just way too light and breezy for those 2 planets. So that might speak to like how people are reacting to said, you know, extremes here when they show up. And you know, the people that are able to go emotionally deeper right now will help facilitate this tumultuous buildup that's coming up with the Moon and Mars. So let's take a look at the cards for this. Mm-hmm. All right. Before I start the tarot for this reading, I have my book beside me, and I'm going to plug it. So there we go. If you haven't already bought there it is. My new book, Divination Rules. It's really cool. I'm happy with this book because it's got so many different types of divination to try. And you know, you can pick up the book, and you can put together a group or a night or an event and just flip it open, and maybe you'll do like tea leaf reading with your friends or something like that. That was a very Jupiter and Gemini type of energy I just gave you. Oh, look, squirrel. There's my book. Oh, this would be fun. All right, let's get back to the seriousness of the tarot for this reading. You know what? I'm going to burn my little incense for now too. All right. These video backgrounds make you disappear when you move from the screen. It's so funny. Anyway, let's see if the cards can show us anything more about what to expect on this full moon. So our first card is the Justice card. So Lady Justice is a Libra, balancing precariously on her tiptoes on the tip of the sword, and all the spheres floating in balance around her. And she's weighing. And the card often means, now in the Thoth deck it says adjustment versus judgment or something else like that, or like justice. Sometimes the card literally brings up legal matters, something serious enough to need a lawyer or an agreement or a written contract, you know, a notary. Sometimes the card comes up because, you know, you do need to rely on or look at the laws or the rules to going forward. Interpersonally, it's more of a sort of a serious card of like taking stock of like what's really been fair, even when it's not like a checklist or a tit for tat. It's sort of like an overall feeling of, is this fair and equal? Do we both feel that this relationship is fair and equal? And that could be within a friendship, a marriage, you know, it could be also co-workers or colleagues, boss. So obviously boss, it's not always fair and equal, but this is what we're weighing. And like I said, it's not literally like, well, I did this for you and you do this for me. It's not that. That's too literal. It's a bit of that, but it's also really like, how do both people feel? And it's also like taken to another level. It can be like a karmic rebalancing going on. So sometimes if something seems one-sided, unbalanced, unequal, you might want to ask yourself if there's some deeper reason, because if you can't see, like I said, a checklist, and there's still some profound feeling there of injustice or imbalance, you could be looking at a past life, a karma to be cleared. And sometimes the way that plays out is pretty strange. Weird stuff sometimes happens and somehow makes things feel like they're restored, even though on paper it doesn't look like that. Yeah, weird karmic justice kind of moments. So we'll see whether that pops up for anybody. The next we have is the Five of Swords, which says defeat. So the Five of Swords is usually like, in other decks, it's like too many people fighting each other, too many cooks in the kitchen, too many, you know, this one, it looks like the hilt of the sword. Each one is different, almost like a different gang or something. And so it's like, you've got too many people trying to control things, too many people at the table with different interests and different ideas and values. And the astrology of the card is Venus in Aquarius, which is sort of, you know, the desire to have a rebellion, the desire to like have an upheaval and start clean. And, you know, at first though, the idealism of like bringing diverse people together and having them get along perfectly and harmoniously without any conflict, which turns out to be an illusion. So that's interesting. Let's see. Then we've got our Prince of Discs, which Crowley did not like. He thought he was a lazy, self-indulgent, pleasure-seeking, undisciplined person. Very interesting. So, I mean, yeah, well, it's hard to say for who, because it's hard to say who that Prince of Discs could be. You know, on the global stage, we can think of many, and maybe in your life, you can think of somebody. Again, it's somebody who wants their comforts. They don't really want to work too hard. The Justice card could be anything from actual justice. You know, it could be a colleague that gets a work reprimand. It could be, you know, a neighbor, a negligent neighbor, or a tenant or something that finally gets papers to say, hey, you know, with the Five of Swords there's a threat of the prince being let go, broken up with, fired, you know, and if that is true, the Justice card sort of makes it seem like that is there is justice in that happening. That's what when I say about karmic justice. Weird things can play out that somehow seem like in the bigger scheme of things, even if the laws don't state it, but in the bigger picture, it seems fair. It seems warranted. So, as long as you are not the one who is lazy and negligent, and then it's likely somebody around you. And if you don't see anybody around you, it could be on the global stage again. So the point is, there's some sort of karmic accountability coming to somebody like that. That should be interesting. So let's just see how this full moon plays out for each sign. You know, and this is our last full moon of the dragon year, and our first full moon of the year, the 9 year. And we're heading into the snake on the 29th of January, the wood snake. And I think we will see a lot of things start to shift after the 20th, right? The inauguration and whatever happens around it. And the snake is all about shedding your skin, going within, transforming, and shedding your skin to build a new life, start fresh. So it's sort of interesting that all of this emotional intensity comes up with the Cancer full moon every year before the new moon of the new year starts, which is always in Aquarius, Chinese, and is the most unemotional and detached moon. So think of right now and the next couple weeks as a purging before you start a new chapter. So let's look at it that way with the tarot. What does your sign need to purge in the next couple of weeks? Obviously, it could take longer, but what does your sign need to purge in order to start fresh? That's a good question. I like that. All right, Aries. Okay. Aries, what do you need to purge to start fresh? And it gives me the Princess of Wands, which is pure Aries energy. But as you can see, she's jumping into midair, jumping into the flames with her wand, and she's in a flame, and she's got flames beside her. She's got this huge tiger around her neck. And, you know, her enthusiasm is strong enough to pull the tiger with her, or is it? Or is the tiger going to pull her down and strangle her on the way down? It's hard to say. It's hard to say. So The thing that you would need, Aries, to be purging in order to start fresh would be to take a look at your the level of impulsivity in your life. You know, being spontaneous and just jumping in and going for it can be great qualities that are needed, you know, versus always people that hum and haw and talk about it, never do anything, right? So we need that energy of people that just say, okay, let's go. Let's get in the car. Let's do it. Call them. Ask them out. Do it. You know, we need that. However, this is like the cautioning is basically the level of impulsivity. So only you can know if you're being super impulsive or whether you're being courageous. You know, if someone dares you to do something and you're impulsive, you just do it. And you don't think about the danger to yourself or anyone else. And if somebody dares you and you have a bit of self-control over but you still have that Aries feisty, go for it, you know, but with some discernment, then you've got the guts to go try something or take a risk or something that's necessary without it being potentially destructive to you or others, because it wasn't impulsive, it was chosen. So this is what you're looking at, is like, try to purge that really reactive, impulsive side if it's there. Very hard to do. If that's your nature, it's going to be hard to do. All right, Taurus. What do you need to purge? Five of Wands. Sorry, it's really hard to see the cards with, whoa, no, the light on. I need the light on. It's hard to get the right distance from the camera with this angle. Ugh. Anyway, sorry guys. Five of Wands. Gotta fix this video stuff. Okay, Five of Wands for Taurus. Strife, Saturn and Leo. So yeah, the thing to purge for you, Taurus, is pride. Pride. So if you need help, you need to ask people and not be too proud. If you don't know something, just let people know you don't know. If you know, if you feel you've messed up on something and you're too scared to tell people, but it's been bothering you and weighing on you, that might be the thing you need to purge. Is just tell somebody. You know, the pride is like of not asking or receiving help or admitting that you have fears or flaws or worries, you know, because of course you do. So if there's, and the card says strife, and it's usually, again, sort of like the Five of Swords, where there's like a lot of people arguing. The Five of Wands is like a bunch of people sort of fighting as well. And people fighting for dominance, you know, vying and one-upping and all of that stuff, versus actual sword battles or wands. But it's like the wands are about the fire, about the will, the passion. So you get five different wills all coming together. And that's why I say pride really feels like a strong theme for you. If you're embroiled in something where there's too many egos at the table, maybe just sort of, again, you don't need to stay there and prove your point or win or whatever. You can let it go and let the other people take that place, take that responsibility, let them lead. You know, it feels like that. You're tested on your pride somehow before you start afresh. All right, Geminis, what do you need to purge? Not the Fool. It's interesting. If I put it up here, will it show? These backgrounds are driving me crazy. It looks pretty, but it's driving me crazy. Okay, so Gemini, the Fool is your purging card. It's really nothing to purge. I mean, the Fool is the call to action, the new beginning, the hopefulness, the vision of the future, the guiding, the guiding vision. You don't need to purge that if you have that at all. So I would say you're not really in a purging period. As we said before, Jupiter's in your sign and it's sort of hanging out in its own world in the chart. You're doing fine, actually. It looks like you're at the birth of something brand new, which is you've got a new sense of what your life can look like and longer term goals to work for. Planning, designing, getting excited, brainstorming about. So if you're in that, I would stay in that. If you're not, then the only purging would be what's in your way to having that. What's getting in your way to having a exciting vision of your future. All right, I'm going to take a look at Cancer for a second here. It is so dry when the heaters are on. It's crazy. My lips are just crazy dry. Okay. All right, Cancers, what do you need to purge? And this is probably going to be chunky because Mars and Moon are in your sign. You're going to feel extra. All right. You've got the 9 of Wands, the Strength card. Well, you definitely wouldn't be purging strength. Well, the Moon and Mars might really actually make you feel empowered right now. You might feel more supercharged than depleted. Yeah, you might have the will and the extra energy to actually tackle something or deal with something in a stronger way than you ever have. Yeah, I'm surprised too. I thought it would be something opposite to that, but the Strength card is you're holding on to what you've built, to how far you've come, everything you've done. You're holding on to it. You're holding the fort. So the Moon and Mars might make you really in touch with how you feel and really ready to fight for it if need be. So that's pretty cool, especially as we come into a brand new year. It's a good sign for you. All right, Leos. What do you need to purge or do before that new year? All right. But the 4 of Swords, which is Jupiter in Libra. 4 of Swords says truce. So, but this feels multiple. This doesn't feel like one person or one thing. So either you're part of a group, which could be work, family, friends, neighbors. You're part of a network or a group that has been having trouble communicating or getting along. And it looks like you might be well placed to be the mediator or communicator, or at least start the ball rolling. There's 4 swords, and they're laid down in with a lily, I believe, a rose in the middle. It's hard to tell what that flower is. It's white, but it looks more like a rose. It's hard to say, but it's a flower. So the tips of the swords are pointed towards a flower, and they are protected, and they are laid down from all of the talking and weighing and rationalizing and fact finding and mediating and just crazy. Jupiter and Libra. Too much talking, too many things going, well, but if it's maybe in that, and too much, it's too much. Laying down the swords. Let's talk. Let's just clear the air. Let's make peace. So if you have a role to play in that, that's what you would need to do before the start of this Chinese New Year. Try to bring some peace and communication and healing to the table within a group that's been a bit difficult. If you can, there's only so much we can do, but if you feel strongly like you need to do your part in something or say something, then that would be, maybe you're the one initiating a conversation at a meeting at work because it needs to be said, that kind of thing. Maybe there's something bothering everybody on your block and nobody said anything, so you can say something, you can talk to people, that kind of thing. All right, Virgo, what do you need to purge before New Year? Oh boy, Virgo, you've got the Tower. You're definitely purging. You are definitely purging. Well, the Tower means something that's long overdue, builds up and blows, and you roar. You roar, or things are just, unfortunately, it is a destructive energy, but the Tower is always way overdue. Something that's been bothering you for way too long is coming up, and it's time that you say something or do something or walk away. You might have to quit. You might want to break up. You might want to walk out of something and say, I resign. I can't do this. I'm not doing this project. You might say, you know what? You're always dumping your problems on me. Enough. Like whatever it is, you have had enough. Okay. So the purging for you is big. Like it's purging a pattern. Yeah, you're purging a pattern. And I fully support you doing it because Virgos are one of the most people-pleasing signs. And by the time a Virgo has had enough, other signs would have left a year ago. Do you know what I mean? But Virgo, you stay because you want to serve, you want to help. You keep trying to look for all the details and the possible perfect ways that something could actually, before you let go and get mad, you have tried everything. Okay? So if you're at that point, just maybe you need to burn the bridge. All right, Libras. What do you need to purge before this new year begins? We've got the 6 of Swords. Mercury and Aquarius. That's very rational, very detached, very analytical. It's might be what you need to purge is actually if you feel like you are almost too detached and analytical about things and you're not feeling things as much as you used to. Could be a wake up on that level, that you need to feel things more than being in your head. You might have all the rationale and all the research and all the facts, and you're probably right, but are you missing the heart side of it? Is life surgical? You know? So the purging is actually just allowing yourself to feel something you have been not letting yourself feel. Could be grief, you know? Admit how you feel and let yourself feel it. That's an ultra simple message, but it's a really hard thing to do if you've been living in your head or your reasoning for so long. It's a really big thing to do. Stop analyzing. Get into your body. Scorpios. Very nice. What you need to purge, well, it's the sun. So there's no purging going on when it's the sun. There's nothing to purge. So main thing I'm hearing for Scorpio for the end of year here, for Chinese New Year, is to sort of take stock and get your ducks in a row. Getting organized, writing down your priorities. Take a look at what you've committed yourself to. Is it too much? Is it challenging enough? Only thing is, there might be some issues in your close relationship that need to be tackled this year. So you might be setting that in motion with, you know, some sort of talk or action with your partner or a close friend or whoever it is, but somebody very close. But there doesn't really feel like a purging or a need to like shed or get rid of or anything like that. It's more of a it's putting things, organizing things and putting them in their order and making space for the things that, you know, you can't fit everything in there. Maybe you've been trying, I don't know. There's some feeling of simplifying your priorities and organizing them. So that's, you know, that's minor purging. Sagittarius, is there anything that you need to purge before the new year begins? All right, Sagittarius. And you got the Ace of Wands. Well, that's also not a purging energy. So what do you need to do before the new year? You need to get your fire on. You need to ramp up your motivation. I don't know if you've been feeling low energy or low motivation to get things done or to start tackling what you said you would tackle. Maybe there's a lot on your plate and you're like, oh, trying to push the boulder up the hill. You need to find your fire. You need to find that can do, that marathon runner energy. I also get a feeling you need to put somebody in their place who's been pushing you too far, asking too much of you, or pushing you way too far. Either like, I don't know, maybe it's endless requests, endless favors, asking you the same questions 16 times, stuff like that. there's someone around that you need to say, that's it, stop it, I'm not doing that anymore, stop asking, I'm not, whatever. There's something like that that you need to tackle. So that could be part of a purging. Otherwise, I feel like you need to find your drive, if anything, I'd almost say get angry so that you can get your will back in order here, because you got a lot to do. Got a lot on your plate. All right, Capricorns. What do you need to purge? You got the Hangman. Well, that's pretty obvious to me. What you need to purge is any kind of feeling that you're in a sacrificial mode, that you have to sacrifice yourself, or that you're in a period of time that is a long, painstaking, waiting, deprived state of mind. You need to stop that. Your Pluto in Capricorn is done. And it's like the Hangman is a transformation, but if it's been going on too long and you're always feeling like, oh, things never quite work out, or you're always a bit cynical, or you feel like things are eluding you, you're not, they're never happening, it's always missing the boat, it's never your turn, or something like this, because you had a rough time when Pluto was in your sign at some point and you felt very tested or overwhelmed. And so now, like, the thing to purge is really any kind of old, waiting or sacrificial or martyr, victim-y kind of feelings that might still be lingering from before. It's time for the Hangman to come off the cross and join life again. That's pretty powerful stuff. Aquarius, is there anything that you need to purge before we start this Chinese New Year? Okay. You also have the Four of Swords. Just like we said for Leo. It's interesting. So for you, like, again, the Four of Swords, if you didn't listen to the Leo one, Jupiter in Libra. Too many ideas, too many weighing back and forth, too many maybe this, maybe that. Too much overthinking, too many people weighing in on things, too much talking. You can't mediate among 50 people. So if there's any way that you have been trying to be all things to all people, or trying to pull together large groups or organizations or even your family, and you're trying to get everybody on board with something, it feels very overwhelming and sort of futile. However, there are some key people that you could sit down and iron out some things with, because the truce is the laying down of swords. If there's any kind of talk that is way overdue that could restore the harmony in a group that you belong to, then it would be a good idea to just lay down the pride and have the talk. Everybody would start to feel a lot better. If there's feels slightly different than the Leo energy. I'm just trying to pinpoint, like, how is it different? Yeah, like, it feels like you need to be a very active participant in whatever group dynamic or talk without taking control or trying to make the outcome happen. But you're an active voice in getting certain key people to sit down and actually solve something. So for you, the purging is, yeah, wanting to control it is the purging. Having a goal more of, let's restore the harmony of whatever group, and less about you being the boss or the control. And finally, Pisces. Sorry, there's some strange truck going the wrong way down the road in front of my house. Anyway, distracted. All right, let's just see for Pisces. Is there anything you need to purge before the year ends? Before this Chinese New Year begins? And you've got the 9 of Discs, which is gain. Actually, it's a wealth card, Venus and Virgo. Well, that pretty much says, you know, there's not purging. There's a need for budgeting. There's a need for, excuse me, for accounting and budgeting. There's reviewing any investments, perhaps starting to invest. Taking care of your money, your wealth. It's not purging your money. That's, yeah. I mean, maybe you have been overspending. Maybe that's the message. You could purge by looking for extra hidden expenses and memberships and things like that that you don't need anymore, and save money that way. Or thinking about how you can save more money and make more money. That's your biggest message. It's not a bad message at all, actually. Is there anything else that I'm sensing for Pisces to purge? It feels like it's always ongoing with Pisces, with you, that you have to constantly assess whether you are in healthy mutual relationships or whether you are the saver or giver. And so it would be good for you to sort of do a little bit of a life review and see who is, just test the water, see what feels enriching and mutual right now. And if it doesn't, just take a little step back from how much you give. Doesn't mean ending things, but it's a good time to take stock of that. It's another kind of accounting, different kind of accounting. But yeah, I'm not getting anything too crazy for you, Pisces, which is great. So I wish everybody a happy new year. And because it is a 9, we are all going to be going through some sort of closure of the chapter. And there's a lot of life review in a 9-year and a lot of introspection in a 9-year. And so if you are so inclined to come for a reading or a chart or take a look at anything that would help you with that, I'd like to help you. And you can reach me again below. My email is in the comments below. You can also join my Intuition Cafe group. The link is always there. And I wish everybody well, and I'll see you for the wood snake and the new moon